Good afternoon to this webinar called the Umbraco Talk Show. We are very pleased to have you on board, and it will just take a few minutes before everyone is on board. Meanwhile, I will say a few things about this webinar. My name is Mette Poulsen. I'm the head of marketing in Novicell, Denmark. And on the couches today, we have Filip Larsen from Umbraco. He's program CMS, and our CTO from Novicell, Adam Peter Nielsen. And I will be your host and try to get us through these 45 minutes in a hopefully interesting manner. But before I give the word to Filip and Adam, just a few words about the webinar. We will of course encourage our audience to come up with a lot of interesting questions, since we have two very skilled Umbraco people here today. So please use the chat function to post questions you have, and then I will try to interrupt Filip and Adam if it makes sense, just in the topic they are talking about, and it could also be that some of the questions we will just handle at the end of the webinar session. Since this is a talk show, there will be no presentation, but you will of course get the recorded webinar tomorrow, where you can see the two gentlemen again if you want to. And then I think I'll just take a look at the time. I think we'll just give it a few more minutes. I can see that people are still coming on board. We are pleased to have you here today, and I know that you will touch upon interesting topics like single sign-on, predictability in software development releases, and editorial experience, and we'll see where you'll take us. So once again, welcome Adam and Filip, and please take it away, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This is a rather new format for us, so we'll try to execute this in a timely manner. It is a talk show, but that means that we're both hosts, so you can ask me questions. Yes. And I can ask you questions.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how this pans out. We're very excited about being here. There is a lot of participants out there. A lot of people have signed up, and looking through the list the other day, we are pretty sure that we will get tons of interesting questions. Some of them might be very technical. I know we've gotten some already. So we have decided to maybe postpone some of those questions to the end of the webinar, as Mette so kindly told those that joined early. So that's about it. Otherwise, let's get started, Filip.
Yes.
Thank you for being here in Aarhus in the Novicell conference room. We have been using Umbraco here in Novicell for on the other side of 10 years now, and have done hundreds of sites on it, and are very excited about the platform and what it has delivered for our clients during the years, but also the fact that it can be used for so many different things. But first, maybe I'll ask for you to tell a little bit more about your role in Umbraco and what you do there, and maybe for those that might be a bit new to Umbraco, what it is and maybe what it's not.
Absolutely. Hi, I am Filip. I am the program manager for Umbraco CMS. And to start right out, Umbraco is a CMS, so it is a content management system. It manages all sorts of content in a very flexible way. And we are well known for a great experience for the editors, and probably we'll talk more about that, and for lots of flexibility, so that the developers are free to do pretty much whatever they like with the platform. Mm-hmm. We are the biggest open source .NET CMS in the world, and we have more than 500,000 sites running globally on Umbraco. So it's a pretty active and well received piece of software, and we've been building it for many years, and it is a pretty solid product for now.
Yeah.
So my role as the program manager is to grow and to strategize for the product, making it the best CMS in the world. It's the humble goal, and and that's what I go to work to do, and that's a lot of fun.
Cool. So Umbraco is an organization.
Yes.
It is an open source product, but there is an organization behind it.
Yep.
But the product is and will
Always be.
continue to be open source. So
Yes.
your role is the product,
Yes.
the CMS.
Yes.
and
So we
not
have,
the other things of Umbraco. Yes.
Umbraco as a company is a software as a service company where we do where we have a cloud offering where you can run Umbraco in the cloud and do deployments and all that stuff really easily. But my role is focused on the open source project and making it as great as possible, and dealing with partners and the community and all the developers out there.
And end clients is for us partners then.
Yes.
Yes, awesome. One of the things that we really like about Umbraco is that it's kind of just a box of Legos. So when you start out with an Umbraco project, it's very extendable, and there are very few decisions that are made in advance for us. So that basically means that we can build anything. We can build large-scale enterprise solutions, large sites, commerce, very international sites with many languages and many cultures activated, but also a 10-page small website for a local store or whatever we need. So the breadth of Umbraco really is what is attractive to us, because we have multitude of clients in very different industries, countries, and very much so in sizes as well. A lot of the other platforms out there might focus on a certain industry or a certain type of site or a segment or whatever. So what's your strategy with the CMS on that?
Yeah, so our strategy is to fit in as many ways, as many places as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to be everything. We don't want to be marketing automation tool or anything like that. We want to be a CMS. We want to bring great editing to any piece of content. So I was thinking, if we're the box of Legos, like where, I know you don't use Umbraco for everything, and that's fine. So tell me, like, when do you think Umbraco is the best fit, and when is it not?
When clients come to us, they have very many different needs. As I mentioned, there's a very big divide between what they actually need. In some cases, a more standard platform, something that has a bit more decision made before, has more features out of the box, might be something you want to go for. But being standard also means that when you purchase this platform or engage with that, you have to change your business or your processes or the way you work a little bit. And if you're into that, that's fine, because it's a good way of letting technology drive your business and finding opportunities that are in there in the other platforms. But especially when we have to build something that is custom, and we know that it is a very good business enabler for our clients to build something that is bespoke or custom, depending on what kind of English you speak. That's where it really fits the bill. That being said, there are some very good solutions, accelerators out there, starter kits. We build our own, of course. Any respectable agency does that. And of course, that means that we can also design a good baseline for how we orchestrate Umbraco products and projects, and being able to finely tune how we do a certain kind of project, for instance, e-commerce or other things, and not being tied down to something specific. It is also a strength for us. So for anything that requires a certain degree of modification or customization, it's really awesome. The caveat of that architecture and that approach is, of course, that you do not get that many features out of the core platform. But that's actually a strength in many cases if you select more best of breed approach to setting up your website and your other tech stack around it. So the fact that you haven't decided for us on what email marketing system we should use with Umbraco, or how we should do tracking or personalization or other things, is pretty much what does it, because clients will have made decisions on what tech stack they have. So having something where you can easily integrate and orchestrate that experience is very much what we are striving for. Anyway.
Yeah. Because as you said, like the strategy of Umbraco really is to fit into the best of breed strategy. So like we want to be the best CMS out there, and that's what we focus on. We don't want to bring you all the other stuff. We want you to be able to select based on what you as the partner think is the best one, or even what the client already has or what they want. But what I'm really passionate about is really like from the editor, from your client, not the end client, but from your client's perspective. How do you build? How do you make it so that the experience is not fragmented when it's a best of breed thing?
Yeah. Well, the thing is it's a matter of connecting things. I think I'll touch upon this in a minute, but what's really nice is actually your focus on the user experience, because you're a limited amount of people. You're actually quite a small team for a CMS vendor. How many people are you now? Full time at the HQ?
At entire HQ, we were about 60 people.
Yeah.
But on the CMS team alone, that's maybe a tenth or a sixth or something of the team. So it's like the team itself is pretty small.
Yeah. So that pretty much illustrates why it's important for you to only focus on CMS, because you wouldn't be able to do a good job at all the other things that a digital solution consists of today. But going back to the user experience, what we tend to forget, and what I know it's also one of your points of the points of Umbraco, is that whenever we spend 10 hours implementing a certain feature for a client, the end user, the editor, that's actually going to be spending time inside of Umbraco, might spend hundreds or even thousands of hours engaging with that over a period of however long the lifespan of that installation or solution or version is. So being able to create a good user experience for that also makes people's work a lot more efficient. And I think that's one of the main things that is disregarded when purchasing systems and platforms in general, is actually how can we make it right for the editor? How can we do a good experience? Because you spend heaps of time in there.
And especially like in this best of breed world where more and more services are going headless and like just talk to each other just with data. In my opinion, the only reason, the only deciding factor for choosing a CMS should be the editor experience. Because that's what it's all about. Like that's the reason why you even have a CMS. Otherwise, it could just be a stack of files, right?
Yeah. So it's more of a content orchestrator where you connect things and then make it ready for publication for the end user. Then it's just a content editing thing, because you will most likely be combining some segments and audiences from any kind of personalization tool or just newsletters. You have maybe some clients logging in, some members, what you're working on, and all that is from different other systems. So if we look into Umbraco, what it is now, it's relatively easy to use it as an orchestrator of things. You still have to do a lot of coding to make it work. So I'm very interested to know about your thoughts when we dive into the future of Umbraco on how that implementation can be made easier, especially because we know from a lot of other cases that there is this trend towards more configuration and less code. low code, no code, if we put some other terms on it. But just being able to move fast and get fast to market with things is getting more and more important. So how do you perceive Umbraco assisting in that in the future? Because we're spending freaking many hours integrating stuff, coding. So how can you help? Basically,
it is. I definitely recognize the no code, low code trend out there, especially, maybe not especially, but at least in the CMS space, it's very much a trend.
it is.
And connecting services or connecting third parties in a central system somewhere is something you do over and over again. My background as well is from agencies, and I know I've been doing that as well many times. And it is a scenario that I think Umbraco is gonna need to be even better at.
Yeah.
And I think there are multiple steps in the process towards that, and I think, of course, the first steps are the architecture inside of Umbraco, which is not really relevant to most editors, but it is because it enables some cool stuff, right? Like, I think there's some architecture stuff that we need to get right to be even more pluggable in where media is stored, or where data is coming from, or something like that. And I think that's probably the first step to be there. And we talked, or in the beginning we mentioned single sign-on as a topic we could talk about, and I think that's with the next version of Umbraco, actually, I think releasing today.
Yes.
Is one of the things that we're enabling is some lower level APIs that makes it very easy to do single sign-on, so that if you want to get data or get users or do authentication from Azure AD or somewhere else, it's very possible. Is there a question over here?
Yeah, there is a challenge from one of the participants. Actually, he's willing to pay some kind of subscription fee for if you would be willing to build a standard integrator or connection with the most common, for instance, marketing or automation systems like HubSpot. Is that something you consider?
That's maybe touching upon some of the partnerships that we have.
Yeah, so we want to. The vision is that we want to be able to do easy integrations with all the popular vendors of pretty much any service out there. Of course, that's not somewhere we'll be, not tomorrow, and probably not the day after tomorrow either. So it is going to take a while to get there, but it is part of where we could potentially go. I absolutely agree, but I think that the first steps of going there are the same, actually, because we need the product to be pluggable. It is pretty extensible today, especially if you compare to some of our competitors. We're actually in a pretty good state, but I still think we have some places where we need to be even better. And then I think the next step on top of that is probably building some generic tools that will make it very easy to then integrate to something that exposes JSON or exposes XML or exposes technical terms, making it very easy to integrate and get data from external sources.
So you could say that you're starting with the foundations now, because of course you're doing a lot of new plumbing underneath what we see as Umbraco. We can touch upon that a bit later. But you're starting with login. That's the first thing you do in Umbraco. So if you have an Active Directory or similar, you can change it out via the OpenID implementation we've done. And that's kind of the first thing. For me, the second would be media. So if I have my files somewhere else.
I know that's a passion for you.
This one is for you, Ellen. But it's a common issue where you have different files in different places. And you want to use it on your social media, on Umbraco, and wherever you want to use it. So being able to easily connect to these different sources. So I see this trend as you're moving more or less towards the user scenarios of typical users, which is where the friction is in login, the friction is in maybe files. But yes, getting a generic way of doing it would be very, very nice.
Yes. I recognize the need, absolutely. The need to be able to easily share a file, even though it's in Dropbox or even though it's in your Microsoft Drive or
Yeah.
whatever. Like
Yeah.
that need to connect that is, I totally know it for myself as well.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna make any promises today, but I think this is something that we can all agree that this would be nice to have.
I think we can both agree that there has been too many promises made about when things will be ready, no matter what platform we look into, but also Umbraco, of course. So now in version 8.9, you have a single sign-on. You already have the possibility to use data for whatever you want, basically for a website, which is the origins of Umbraco. For an app, you have this wonderful case with your headless powering an ice cream robot that makes ice cream, which I really like. But the whole idea of that is also to be able to deploy content out to another, maybe more performant infrastructure, which is something we've been working with for a number of years now, and also separating the CMS from presentation. Classically, your CMS and your front end, everything would be one big monolith solution. So if we wanted to update the CMS, we needed to shut down the website basically, which is not what you want. You want separation of concerns and all that stuff. So you're working more on headless as well. You have your hardcore cloud variant of this. So any notes on that for curious techies out there?
I think hardcore is getting to a pretty nice state. We released it as a pre-release, I think a year ago or something like that, and it's been evolving. I think about a month ago we released GraphQL support and preview support for hardcore, and I think those are pretty nice, milestones in the heartless, in the headless journey of Umbraco. And I really recognize the need that you say that, like, we wanna, in some instances, you wanna disconnect the editing of content from the actual website running.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the powers of Umbraco really, is that with hardcore or with something else, it's actually feasible to do.
It is.
I know you're doing it, and probably some of your competitors are as well. And I think that's pretty nice. I think for some of our competitors, their business model is very tied to, like, actually requests hitting the server or something like that. So they'll and like, it's really freeing to us that our business model is, but like, the software is open source.
Yeah.
If you want to, you can use our hardcore headless service and you can put it in our cloud and everything's good, but you don't have to. And I think that's the power of Umbraco, really, and that's what makes it attracting to lots of agencies and end users. Really.
Yeah. We see in some cases that we start out with small or medium-sized projects on cloud, and have very fast dev time, and have something that's up and running in weeks. And then afterwards, more requirements pop up. And then the good thing about the cloud solution being more or less native Umbraco is that we can relatively easily move that project out of the cloud as well, or vice versa. So that's actually a strength as well. So you can, as a client, grow with your project. So start out with something tiny that fits the bill for what you're doing right now, and then extend upon it later on.
And actually today we announced for Gold Partners as an exclusive product to begin with, our new, that the deploy tools that you know and love from cloud are actually now available to use on premises as well. So you don't even have to change your tools if you want to take an existing solution and put it in cloud, or if you want to start in cloud and then eventually move out of cloud. Those are both the scenarios that actually now fits pretty well within what we offer.
You caught that ball quite well. Cool.
Adam, you touched a little bit upon the single sign-on just before, and there was actually specific questions about single sign-on, whether the single sign-on support also include identity server.
Maybe it's a little too technical to go into it, but what I want to say is that what Umbraco gives you with version 8.9 is all the plumbing that you need to build whatever you want on top of it. So no matter what solution you want to put on it, you can do it. And then it brings you some tools to actually then turn off local users altogether and send people to your user provider to sign up or to get to get new rights or whatever. And all that is what's really in version 8.9.
Yeah. So to interpret the answer from Mr. Umbraco, the answer is yes, but not necessarily the whole thing out of the box. So there is some configuration required, but the good thing here is that there are no longer any stones on the road that limits you, and the user management interface of Umbraco can be bypassed entirely, which it has been possible for to use identity server and single sign-on and so forth with Umbraco until now. But the thing is that it's now a lot easier and more well implemented.
Yes,
to be honest.
Yeah.
Yes. Cool.
I won't disagree.
No,
Go check out the release blog post on umbraco.com later today, I think.
So it's not a new thing, but now it's a lot better.
Yeah,
you could say.
Absolutely. And that's more or less the story of a lot of things we were talking about, like plugging in other data sources, and like you can do all of this today, and it's definitely possible. And that's what I know you've been doing for lots of your clients.
Yeah.
And we'll just continue to make that easier and better and more performant, and
So talking about what we're doing for clients, could you describe maybe for some of the people out there that are not gold partners, as we've been for forever, how do we best collect and define feedback? I know, but maybe you should touch upon that. So if you're an end user or a smaller agency or one of our big competitors listening in right now, as I know, how do we provide feedback for you? What's the loop like and all that?
So when you have ideas for Umbraco, there's an official email. If you write to product@umbraco.com, you can bring us all your ideas and stuff. But what we really want to keep that out in the open. For us, open source is not about democracy. It's not about whoever has the most votes wins. It's about transparency. So we want to have ideas out in the free where everybody can comment, and that's how ideas become even better. And then they'll turn into a product maybe, or like they'll turn into an actual feature at some time. As a tech company, we do this on GitHub, of course. But if you're not familiar with GitHub, you can use the email. That's totally fine. Then we'll probably move it there for you, because we want to have this all out there. And that's absolutely what we want from everybody. And that's not only partners. It's not a technical thing necessarily. No. This could just as easily be you as an editor saying, why is this button over here? It should be over there. Or why is this button not do this or that, or something like, why doesn't it publish automatically when I save, or why does it do that, or
There is a built-in conflict of interest here or maybe conflict of implementation, because it can be, as a client, a bit difficult to figure out if that button is something that's standard Umbraco or it's something the partner implemented. So if you're sitting out there as an editor or end user of Umbraco and have a feature request, I would encourage you to go through your partner, your vendor, your agency, whatever you call it, and discuss it with them first, because they might already know that it is available in version whatever that's coming, or that it is just because you need an upgrade, or that it is a custom feature that was built for you. So because Umbraco is a bunch of Legos, the Lego set is modified. So coming to fill it with a feature request, I would imagine you get a bunch of feature requests from end users where you're like, I have no idea what that is, because a partner agency did something and it extended.
And really, that's a lot of the credit for that actually goes to the partner, because that means that they've succeeded in making the experience that we want them to build. Where it's, even though this might be a custom solution, or it might even be a separate system providing the data, it's a great experience for the editor. So the editor doesn't know where the data necessarily lives, and I think that's the success whenever that happens. We want to have like one experience, or as close to one experience as possible, right?
Yeah.
So there's one participant who wants to know if it's correctly understood that the Umbraco is becoming a CMS that can present whatever data I want to present from whatever source I prefer, if I know how to develop it.
Can I start answering that?
Sure.
It has actually always been like that.
Yes.
But the thing is, right now, that means that we as a partner, or you as an end user developer geek, needs to develop a bunch of features in order to do that. That means you need to do a bit of code to connect some APIs. So for instance, if we want to, as I phrased it as orchestrate some data, that means that we need to make that available within Umbraco. So if you have some products in a product information management system, or you have some contacts in your CMS, your CRM, that could be you want to display your colleagues' profiles on your website, and instead of typing all that information, you may want to have that integrated easily. But yes, the whole premise of what you're trying to do is to connect everything easier. For instance, with the webhook stuff you're doing with your commercial products.
Mm-hmm.
So should we understand this as something that's happening sooner or later? I know you've been dabbling around with some configuration ideas for a long time. For instance, for developers, for the models builder in the back office. I'm not saying it should be something like that, but the thing that you can connect external APIs to Umbraco.
I don't know how to answer that question. Honestly.
It was long.
That was a long question. I think where in the best of breed strategy that we started out talking about, I think most of those scenarios that the systems talk to each other just with data in some form,
yes,
with XML or JSON or some whatever format fits, right? And I think Umbraco is a pretty good fit in that,
mm-hmm.
and can definitely work with any data from any source.
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, what we're trying to make, you could do all of this today. You could get data from anywhere and put it in Umbraco and expose it again from Umbraco, and that you can do that all of that today.
Yeah.
But what I see as the future of Umbraco is really making that more integrated, and making it more easy. Really, like the dream is that even a non-technical editor could set up the CRM integration, and make users flow in from HubSpot or from wherever they live, and have them land inside of Umbraco, and then you can maybe use like your marketing suite or one of the personalizations engine to then personalize the website based on whether users come from your newsletter or whether, like, all of this is possible today.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want to make it easier and easier and easier to connect all the data types or the data sources.
Which is much appreciated for us agencies as well, because let's face it, we're not delivering that much value when we're just sitting there integrating the same CRM for the 10th time. Of course, we're faster and faster, and we remove more and more friction when doing it. But still, it's tedious work. It would be more fun to just enter an API key and consume some data, set up a couple of webhooks, and then start enriching that and making a good experience for the end users, the visitors, the customers on the sites.
And like at Umbraco, we've been playing with this idea of Umbraco apps, and we talked about it at Code Garden maybe a year or two ago or something like that. And I see this is really what Umbraco apps is all about. And like, I don't have anything new to share on that, but that's where we want the platform to go. That's no secret.
I think one of the best examples right now of extending Umbraco's functionality and building on the top of the core is of course the marketing suite built by Perplex in the Netherlands, which is A/B split testing and segmentation and stuff like that. Some subjects that we've been working with for years, and it's just wonderful to see an agency attack that head on and build that into Umbraco. So very good example of something where you actually have a lot of power all of a sudden within Umbraco with just a small extension that you pay a small fee for having, which is pretty much what you see in a lot of other platforms as well.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense.
And they really coming back to they really hit the nail on.
Yeah,
you don't know where Umbraco ends and where your marketing suite stops, and that is the power of it. Right?
Yes.
That's really what you want from apps like that.
So it's going to be fun when the support tickets arrive at your doorstep.
Yeah.
We didn't do that.
Yeah.
No. That's why you go through.
Of course, there's no errors in any of the products.
Of course, never. That's how software works. No errors. There's so many moving parts. It's so difficult, actually. Anywho, let's talk a bit more about Umbraco for maybe larger sites. With we see a tendency of a lot of our clients have maybe a main website or e-commerce solution. They then have other smaller branding sites or profiling sites, or just very smaller versions for another market. So even small to medium size clients of ours have a lot of sites running within Umbraco, and it is more of an enterprise CMS actually, even though a lot of your competitors might disagree with that statement. So you're moving more and more up in the market with the content management product, which is your product. So what do you do to cater for these more professional people for the enterprise segment? Where do you see the fit, and what do you do to help there?
I'm happy that you say that we're moving up. We're not moving away from anything. Let's just make that clear. But it is nice, and we do see more and more interest from really large organizations as well. And I think from as I said, my background is in agencies as well. And when I was selecting a vendor, like the number one thing I wanted to know was really predictability. You want to know what stuff is coming and when it's coming, and you want to be able to put that in your like your Gantt plan or whatever, however you do it, so you know this is where the release is happening, and we need to upgrade and we need to test them, we need all of that. And historically, Umbraco has been a little bit of a mess here. It has gotten a lot better, but actually this autumn or this fall, we will be announcing that we're moving to semantic versioning altogether, so that it's very predictable what's in a release. When does a release contain a breaking change? When is it just new features, or when is it patches or fixes being made? And then we also want to move to a more predictable release cycle, so that you can know that every 6 weeks there's a new version of Umbraco, and the upgrade is easy peasy. It's you just upgrade and you have everything still works. And we want that to be predictable, because I really think that's key to move up.
Can we talk a little bit about the editorial part of Umbraco, since there are a few questions also touching upon that? And
I think I have maybe a final comment on the enterprisey stuff, and let's then jump back to that. Would that be okay? Unless I forgot what I wanted to say. No. The thing that also makes very much sense for more of the modern enterprise client is that they actually appreciate the product being open source, because they've figured out that when products are open source, there are tons of geeks looking for holes and errors and where to hack it. So having an open roadmap, so you have predictability, but then also having an open release cycle and open source actually means that when you release something, you can be darn sure that some nerd will figure out the issues with the product quite quickly, versus a more closed source platform, where it is then required to have a lot more people working on it and a lot of testing more than you do. I know you have stuff like that, but that's just a final comment on that. Something that we hear a lot these days is it's nice to know that a lot of people are actually testing this stuff. And I know that many of the licensed CMSs are trying to open source a lot of their stack, so you can actually test that in the same fashion as well.
Yeah. And I think just to touch on like the bad part of this, of course, would be if we had, issues are transparent, right? Like so when there are bugs, you can go see what bugs are open from Umbraco, right? And that's free to all. But just to touch on the concern that you might have as an enterprise customer, there's a separate process whenever there's a security issue. So when there's a security issue, it is not transparent. So that means you go through a separate process and they're fixed, and then they're merged into the core. And then after it's fixed, we start talking about that.
But also it's a concern that is diminishing a lot because we're moving more onto headless, which actually means complete separation of CMS and website. So we can there is no way to interact from the outside with the CMS at all in almost all the larger solutions we've done for the past couple of years. So
the CMS is typically behind the firewall or something,
it's behind something else and it's contained. So that issue is not that much of an issue anymore. Getting back to the user experience, you have three questions.
Exactly.
First
one is about the media base, Philip. Is it true that you no longer can update a picture in the media base to make it automatically change at all places where the picture is in use at the website, at all languages and at all pages?
I don't.
Sounds fishy.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember. To me, that would be a bug or like a
that
regression.
Would be a major bug.
And I don't remember seeing. I don't remember hearing reports of that. So I don't think so.
Me neither. It seems like that must be an implementation issue. And not a CMS issue, which is a good example of that. There are two things. Involved in it.
So talk to your vendor.
Basically.
And if they see a problem, absolutely reach out to us.
Yeah, of course.
If it is a problem. Yeah, absolutely.
Next one. One of the issues we have as editors is being able to determine whether a media item, a document or an image is being used on a live web page. Is there an easy way to find out?
That is actually a new thing,
yes. For a long time, we've had a pretty limited tracking of where media and other doc types are used. And we've been expanding that, and we plan to expand that even more. So I guess that's the best answer.
That's a political answer. But the thing is, what you want as an editor is you of course want to see, okay, this image, have I used that a number of times? In some cases, you want to make sure that you don't use the same image over and over again. For instance, you use an image of me and 3 other colleagues extensively on our website, and I look kind of fat, and I don't like that image. So I would love to remove it. But that's quite difficult today. But it's also an implementation thing. But it's a feature request that has been lingering for ages and ages.
We know, and we want to make the tracking even better. We already know all the links because for deployments to work and for content to be transferred and published and stuff, we know where everything is used. So it's
there are some issues where you can say if you're putting media inside of a rich text editor, or you are using some funky plugins to manipulate how you use media, then the chance of success with tracking media is quite low. The thing about deleting media and removing, for instance, images that you're no longer using and recycling them and deleting them, I wouldn't do that because they're usually indexed in search engines and actually maybe providing some traffic for you anywho. So if you feel like you have too much media that you think is unused, just put it in a folder that's named we don't know what it's for, which is fine because let's face it, disk space
storage is not
storage today is not an issue. If we scroll back to 10 years ago, it was a big issue because it was hugely expensive to upload a simple file. So I would just kind of make these images a bit neglected and put them somewhere and wait for an update that can actually help you. Then there are also other external tools that you can use to crawl your site and figure out what media is used and what's not used. We've also done some comparisons of those results by crawling the site and the media, because in many cases, media is not only in Umbraco. It might also be in a PIM or in some other kind of storage.
Yeah.
So it depends on the solution as well. It's definitely doable to figure out what's in use and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely.
I could talk about that subject.
Yeah, we
the
can talk
rest
about
of the
that for
day.
45 minutes. Yeah.
I can hear. But there's another question regarding the multi-language setup. We are currently moving from Sitecore to Umbraco.
Congratulations.
We have been looking at the multi-language setup in Umbraco that was recently introduced.
Yes.
It seems a bit more difficult to work with for an editor in Umbraco than in Sitecore, as all language versions is shown in the site hierarchy. Can you comment a bit about the roadmap for future developing the multi-language setup?
Maybe I don't understand the question. If by site hierarchy you mean the site tree, then that means that you're not using the newest version of Umbraco that actually handles translations on a per content node. So that means I can talk about what it is, and then if I don't hit your question, you can please come back. So what we do in Umbraco is you, as the developer of the site, you define what languages should be available and which language should be the default language. And then as an editor, you create your pages like you would normally, and then you can click on a page to create a different version of the same page. And that means that it's in the page tree, it's the same page, but then when you go to it, you can choose which one you want to edit, and you can even have like a split screen where you see the default language on one side and then the language that you're translating to or something else on the other side. So that's at least that's how it's meant to be.
That's how it's meant to be if you are doing parallel translation.
Yes.
But if you have maybe a very small Danish version of your website with maybe only 10 pages and the international or English version has 2,000 pages, we would not recommend that approach. Yeah. We would just say, okay, then it is two different
build a separate site
that
tree.
you have, because if you're only editing 10 pages, you do not want to connect them to the original pages necessarily. So it's always a matter of how your site structure is. It is possible within Umbraco 8 to do the Sitecore-esque way of having translations work, where you have variants of the same page in different languages. It is also possible to have separate structures, and it is also possible to do a combination.
Absolutely.
Philip and Adam, with respect to the time,
Time
is actually up, but there are a few more comments and questions. But I will, of course, for those of the audience who needs to be on time, say thank you for participating. But you're also welcoming just to hang on a few more minutes. Because you have actually promised that we will get through all comments and questions. So just sit tight.
We can do this all day.
We can do this all day. So, and if you're going away, if you haven't already, go try out Umbraco at umbraco.com. There's a trial. You do a one-click thing, and you're going. And if you have feedback or want to reach out, you can find me on Twitter or email or something like that. I'm very nice. I hope I try to be quick to respond to people, and I really welcome feedback, however way it comes.
And if you have implementation questions,
go to our gold partners from Novicell.
Anywho, I think we can spare like 15-20 minutes for questions, but we'll see how many you have.
Yeah, but there are a few comments on what we talked about regarding pictures. There are some comments about GDPR-wise. You need to remove a picture to be sure that it's not used at all, and that the storage can grow so large that it hurts the performance. I don't know if you have any comments to that.
So storage size shouldn't affect the runtime performance of Umbraco.
Depending on how you've set it up.
The
but it shouldn't.
The media archive. The question is asked.
I would say there typically there are multiple issues involved with that, because the sheer number of images can be an issue if the hierarchy is quite deep, and if you have this tendency to maybe not put everything in folders, and you have like 50,000
one bucket
in one big bucket, then the loading of that tree in the media section might be a bit slow or sluggish
for the editors. Just to be clear, what I was trying to say is the size of the media library shouldn't do anything to the performance of the website, like for the end user. But for the editors, of course, like if you want to browse a folder and it contains 50,000 files, it's going to take a while to load all the previews and load everything, of course. And
we have sites running with millions of files where there is no performance degradation based off of the amount or size of the file archive. If you have issues with that is end user facing, you could move media out into some blob storage on Azure and then just connect it back to Umbraco. So you would still have the same experience and still be able to edit them within Umbraco, and as you're used to, the storage is just moved out to somewhere else than where your site is hosted.
And typically I would say if you're at a size like that, you probably want to look into some kind of CDN solution anyway, for nice performance, and then they will take care of all of this for you. And if again, not to plug all our own stuff, but if you use some of our products, this is actually built in.
You have as many people do use Cloudflare or similar.
We have a partnership with Cloudflare that does all of this for us in the cloud.
So if you have those issues and end users are impacted by any kind of sluggishness caused by media, there are a lot of things that can be done quite easily and quite inexpensively as well.
CDNs are pretty cheap and
pretty awesome.
And pretty awesome,
But if you have that many files, you might want to look into something else as well, like a digital asset management system or whatever. But that's another story.
Then there is a question not in the chat function, but in the question function. So that
you have two functions.
That's the reason why why everyone cannot see it. So it's not something that I make up. But
okay.
Did you consider an out-of-the-box solution to make a sitemap.xml in Umbraco? And what about a redirect manager?
But there is a redirect manager. The interface might use some TLC, but
So to us, there's always a trade-off of whether this is something that we think should be in the core of the product, or something that we think is really nice that you can get from installing a package from somewhere. And I know that both of these are solved really well by packages out there, and we don't have any current plans to add those or to do any more about that into the core at the moment. If you think it's important, let me know why, and I'll consider it. I
would also say that it is something that should be very much connected to the implementation and to a starter kit, for instance. So if it's a feature that's missing, it's something that basically it generates some XML for search engines, right? So that is an output of Umbraco content. So what we typically see is that you actually need a little bit of control over that, and as soon as you make a decision on how that works, it will not be enough, because then you need a feature for a check mark that says exclude from sitemap, or we need something that generates different sitemaps for different sites configured within Umbraco. So if you did something standard for it, it would be something that we needed to change. It would be hard to do every solution regardless.
It would be hard to do an implementation that would cover all.
So I think it's good that thing is not in Umbraco, because we would just be removing it every time, basically.
And there are packages out there if you want them. If you go to the package site or whatever.
And regarding the redirect manager, there is a redirect management within Umbraco. but what's missing is an interface for adding redirects manually. That has been an ongoing discussion for a couple of years, I think.
Yes.
In Novicell, we've just built our own, which is just a small tab for adding redirects and managing them, because the data is there. Umbraco has the facilities for doing redirects. There is a feature request in there somewhere for making something better for that. But we and other agencies has just done a small implementation that actually fixes that missing link, which is basically just a place for adding links. So
I honestly don't remember the state of that issue,
if you need more insights on that.
But yeah, we see, like, especially to take us back to where we were a couple of minutes ago, where we talked about enterprise. Like, we see in more and more scenarios where maybe the CMS is not the source of truth of this. No. Maybe there's something in front that handles routing, or handles parts of it, or handles we might not be the only the only center of that information.
No, and that's some of the friction that sometimes arises, because the product can be used for a very, very small website, and for a very, very small, just one website with 10 pages, it makes total sense, or 50 pages, to have redirect management, and it makes total sense to have the XML sitemap and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
But that would then be something where you look at some of your ready-made starter kit projects that are on the community pages that you can just download and it works more or less out of the box, or your Umbraco Uno project, for instance.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, which is basically a starter kit for your cloud environment. That of course needs to have some of those features for a small website,
we absolutely recognize the need of them.
Standard website, right?
The trade-off, or the thing that we always think about is this core material, or is this something else? And this, even if it's something else, it might be something that we provide, but it doesn't necessarily need to go into core.
But I understand the issue is, if you're sitting outside, and maybe if you haven't spent so much time with Umbraco and built many sites, you're missing some pieces, and you might be frustrated with something that is obvious and saying, why doesn't it do this? But that's where the community comes in, and that's where packages comes in, because you're not the only one who has that question. There are 200,000 other people who've had that question before, or at least some thousand people who's had it. So
go to our website, is, like the community website is our.umbraco.com. So it means that it's our product, right? Our.umbraco.com is where you go, and there's a forum, and you can ask questions, and you can follow along with everything that happens there, or go to GitHub and look at issues. That's probably a good place to go as well. And then, I said before, go take a trial. But if you don't know Umbraco, you should probably take a trial with Uno, because then that way you get a set of pages already made with some templates, and it's very easy to get started. And then when you eventually want to use it, you should consider whether Uno is the right choice for you. It might be to go to Adam or some of his competitors and have them make a website for you in Umbraco, and that's all good.
Just not to mock anything, but I like to call Uno the mom's website starter kit.
Absolutely.
Because
nobody mocks mom.
No. They don't, because the thing is, it has what you need to get going quickly.
It is the hairdresser website,
It
right?
is, and it's awesome. Or it's a small agency website, or whatever, with a limited feature set, but you get pedal to the metal right off the bat, which is super nice. So we really like it, and are implementing some sites on it as well, actually, which is good. We can also do large scale, super enterprisey stuff.
It's a different thing,
but that's something else. Yes,
absolutely.
Thank you. Adam and Philip, I have the feeling that you just go on, but I think that I will stop you here for today.
We might go on afterwards.
I also hope that we respectfully have covered all comments and questions. So thank you very much to the audience for the engagement and all the good questions.
Yeah, that was nice.
And say goodbye.
We'll wave.
Bye.
Thank you for today.
LinkedIn or wherever we are.
LinkedIn, Twitter,
not secretive.
Thank you.